let's draw a map. So I have been working non-stop on my first RPG adventure zine called Dragontown. I'm about halfway through with all of the illustrations for the zine, and it's got me thinking. Well, actually, every stage of the process of making the zine has had me thinking about designing a D&D adventure, running D&D, playing D&D, and how to make something that helps make all that easier and more fun. So right now I am redrawing the alley cat's hideout. I've decided that all the maps in the book are going to be in an isometric perspective, this sort of top-down angled perspective. Really, I just grabbed a template from online, put that on its own layer, spent some time planning out the dungeon, just super sketchy and loose, and then slowly added more and more details on top. And the details are really what I want to talk about in this video. So I've actually already drawn this dungeon in a video before. If you want to hear about how I came up with a dungeon and my ideas for making a cool dungeon, there's a card popping up right now. And I've also made a video about how to draw these isometric dungeons as well. So there's another card popping up if you're here to really learn how to draw isometric dungeons. Check that video out. But in this video, I want to talk about how I am filling the Dragontown zine to the brim with illustrations and maps. I'm trying to make the whole thing super clear and useful for a DM to run this adventure, but I'm also trying to make the zine evocative and fun to read and a book that can spark your imagination as well. So let's pull back for a second here. When I first started working on Dragontown, I made notes in a Google Doc just like I would as if I was preparing to run a game of D&D myself. That means a lot of unfinished and unorganized ideas, you know, just the bare minimum of information so that I could keep everything straight in my head. But if this adventure is going to be a zine, I had to make the writing actually readable for other people. And that process took a lot longer than I thought. You know, the zine isn't perfect, but I have learned a ton about writing an adventure, going from notes to, you know, actual adventure design text. Now, once everything was written, then I could focus on the layout of the zine, and that meant formatting and organizing all of the text into a book with pages that reads as clearly as possible. Now, I think I'm gonna do a live stream here on the YouTube channel next Saturday. Gonna go over the layout process and how I'm putting this zine together. It should be a ton of fun, and if you have any questions about the Dragontown zine, you should definitely stop by. More details about what time the live stream is gonna happen soon. So now I have the zine laid out, and it's time to add in the illustrations, the hand-drawn titles, and all the maps. And this got me thinking about how the storytelling and the usefulness of this zine doesn't end with the text. So a map like the alley cat's hideout is a perfect example. You know, the zine could just have a simple numbered list of what the rooms are in this dungeon. Basement entrance, catapult room, the well, the secret treasure room, the sleeping area, and the exit. You know, that's probably all I would need to list out to run this dungeon myself, but that's not super helpful or inspiring to a dungeon master that's picking up this zine to run this adventure. So the next step is to write out a little more description about each of the rooms of the dungeon, describing what's in the room, what it looks like, smells like, sounds like, who's there, are there any points of interest, or stuff like that. But then the cool thing about having a map like this is that I don't have to spend a ton of time in the text explaining the layout or how big the rooms are. The map does all of that. You know, this map could totally just be flat outlines of each room with nothing in it. And again, that would probably be just fine. But by adding in some of these illustrated details like the bed location, the half-built catapult, the well, that paints a better picture and makes it super easy for a dungeon master to run their players through this dungeon. And really, I'm trying to take that idea to heart with all of the illustrations in this zine, not just the maps. So like whenever I describe an NPC in the text, I don't have to write out a physical description because the illustration is going to do that work for me. You know, the text can focus on who this person is, why are they in Dragontown, What's their job? Who do they care about? How do they feel about the missing dragon? And how do they feel about the players that are there interacting with them? That stuff can be covered in just a few sentences, and then the illustration does the rest of the work. You know, it's a picture's worth 1,000 words kind of thing. And hopefully, again, I can go one step further, and these maps and illustration and how the zine is laid out and the writing, it can all work together to sort of give a feeling. You know, I want this Dragontown adventure to have a certain vibe to it, friendliness and whimsy added on top of the classic D&D starting adventure. And hopefully not just the writing conveys that, but the layout of the zine and also the way I'm illustrating these maps and doing the illustration helps convey that vibe as well. You know, I might be wrong, but I feel like this sort of thing isn't done as much in RPG adventures. You know, obviously the writing of an adventure is super important and gets a lot of attention, but I feel like the maps and the illustrations are just as important as the writing. And really, I think it's just an opportunity to have fun, make a bunch of cool, exciting illustrations and maps. You know, I'm just trying to bring this idea of a world of Dragontown to life in this zine format. And yeah, that's just kind of what I've been thinking about as I've been illustrating the zine. So yeah, hopefully this map is giving off a cool secret hideout vibe. You know, it's still simple and clear and useful to a dungeon master. I just hope that putting in a little bit extra makes it even more useful, sparks the imagination a little bit more, and makes the whole zine and the adventure that much cooler. So yeah, I'm getting closer and closer to finishing the Dragontown zine. I'm putting so much effort into it. There's 2, 3, sometimes 4 illustrations per page of this zine. Tons and tons of stuff crammed into these 40 pages. If you're interested in learning more about Dragontown, the first link down in the description is a playlist to all the videos I've been making about it. Stop by the live stream this coming Saturday. I'm going to be talking all about how I'm laying out the book, and it'll be a really good sneak peek of how everything is turning out, what it's all looking like. And yeah, hopefully all of that was interesting. Let me know in the comments. If you're still here at the very end of the video, you're awesome. Hit me with a subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya!